All right, here we go. Live from Raiders headquarters. What's going on, everybody? Rough night last night at Allegiant Stadium, to say the least. Rough night. Don't want to see another one of those in a while. How's everybody doing? It was a real late night and early morning here. Yeah, you could be glasses half empty or full, whatever you want to do. I did the post game last night, and I was all ready for that. We'll get some sound coming up here in a minute. Well, we got that. I'm going to go on Twitter too. Yeah, we're going to go on Twitter too. Give everybody bonus brick. Yep, Snow Radio. Listen to his post game. That was, yeah. We said it all, man. That was just a bad game. That was a really bad offensive performance. Unacceptable. I just interviewed head coach Pete Carroll. He just left here about 20 minutes ago. He was okay. You know, it's his birthday last night, and he didn't get the win. Would have been nice. And, man, they got to put that loss behind them quick, really quick, and get ready for a good performance in D.C. Well, I've done a few of these before, right? I've done a few of these. This is not my first rodeo. I've done a few of these. Out of the gate, JT live from Raiders headquarters on a late night last night and a very early morning today, as we are here for the aftermath of the Raiders' loss on Monday Night Football to the Los Angeles Chargers. If you were there, if you watched on TV, if you're heart and soul of Raider Nation, you should have a pretty strong opinion on what happened last night. We got a lot of cleaning up to do, as they've said, and I've done a lot of this over the last 20 years where I've seen games like this, and no matter if it's in the beginning, middle, end of the season, you got to deal with it head on, and that's what we'll do today inside Raiders headquarters. So I just interviewed the head coach, Pete Carroll. I just did a half-hour TV show with Eric Allen, along with Paul Gutierrez, Lincoln Kennedy. We knocked that out, and Lincoln and I left the building last night at 11:30 at night after the 90-minute postgame, where that was interesting. So the Raiders are 1-1. You can look at this a whole bunch of different ways. If you want to watch the show inside the building, you just got to go on YouTube and click on the subscription. It's free. JT the Brick. It's in my bio on X. You can just jump into the bio on X and just click live. It takes 10 seconds to hit subscribe, and it's free. And we ask you to do that. If I don't ask for anything else, I just ask for you to do that. You can help us out there and also support all of our partners and sponsors. That's a really important part of what we do here. So the guests we have today, Jeff Sherman over at the Westgate. He's going to give us the moving odds, the money bet last night on the Raiders and the Chargers from a gambling perspective. And there's a lot of quarterbacks that are out. We might have a big one out in Jaden Daniels for the Commanders this week and how that's affecting the line. Alex Echelman from ABC 13. She did a nice special before the game last night. She joins us every other Tuesday. She'll join us at 12:35. And then Levi Edwards in studio from the Raiders. And he will jump in here and we'll go over his content and what he's working on. But most of the time these days, I have three really good guests, but I normally clear it out for phones. I normally clear it out for phones on Friday and the day after the game to hear from you, the Raider Nation, which is important to me because I want to hear what the fans have to say. There's a lot of fans who dedicate their life to this team, to this product. They spend a lot of money to be a part of this. I will tell you before you hear my Pete Carroll interview later this week that he really cares too. It was his birthday last night, and he was really disappointed that the Raiders didn't put on a better show and they didn't play well. And that's the focus of my monologue brought to you by Golden Entertainment. They own the Strat. Strat's got a lot of activations going on. The pool is still popping. All their restaurants. You can go to dinner at the top of the world. The top of the world, the restaurant that moves. You'll have one of the best dinner experiences in your life. Go to the Strat and check out everything they're doing. The best way to describe that game last night is it was one of the worst Raider offensive games I've watched in a long time. And I was there for the 3-0 game against Minnesota. Okay, so I don't know if I'm going to put it on the Raiders Mount Rushmore, but I'm going to put it on the Raiders Mount Rushmore of worst offensive performances I have seen in Las Vegas. It was terrible. Any way you look at it. Is that good enough for you, Raider Nation? Am I being real? It was terrible. Everything about that offensive performance was terrible. Other than the guys who tried to play through pain like Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers played pretty well. He had back-to-back good games. But from the game plan to the execution and especially to the quarterback. Now, we know that Geno is capable of having a game like this. He's had them before. The good news is Geno is pretty good overall. His stats back it up. He now leads the NFL in interceptions, which is not good because you don't want to have 15 or 20 interceptions at the end of the year, and he's on pace to go over that. So Geno has been careless with the football. He's had a couple of bad throws, but he's the perfect guy to put it behind him and lead. We were waiting for his press conference last night at Allegiant Stadium, and he couldn't wait to get there. He couldn't wait to get to the podium and take full ownership for all that. That's a good leader. You know, all quarterbacks, when they play poorly, are going to go to the microphone and tell you they didn't play well. But Geno's a guy that sincerely means it. And I think Geno's the type of guy with the temperament to come out this week and go out there and win and take the team and have a bounce back game. I really believe that. And if he doesn't play well, we'll have the same show next week. And we'll talk about some of the problems that are there. But Geno played as poorly of a game that he has ever played in this league. When it comes to deep throws, the interceptions, the incompletions, he actually threw the ball out of bounds on 4th down, which is completely unacceptable for any quarterback in middle school, high school, college, D3, whatever it is. You got a 4th down, you throw the ball up in the air and hope someone makes a miracle catch. You do not throw it out of bounds. He took a 4th quarter sack on 4th down. Unacceptable any way you can do it. Well, part of that was because Geno was running for his life. Geno was running for his life, and the offensive line didn't play well. I told you that I've been concerned about this offensive line for years. But now Pete Carroll and John Spytek drafted new players who they're grooming. They're not ready now, but they got other offensive linemen that they're trying to prepare for and get them ready to go. They made a big decision to go with Jordan Meredith at center over Jackson Powers-Johnson. I didn't agree with that. I don't agree with that, but that's what they believe is right for the team. Jackson Powers-Johnson wasn't able to play because he was in concussion protocol. Hopefully he comes out of that. And the offensive line so far has proven that they're not very good at run blocking, which is a concern. And last night they were not very good at pass protection. So I'm not saying you got to break it down and throw it out and throw it away. And Pete Carroll's son's got to say, let's start from scratch and trade everybody. You're not going to do that, but they got to figure it out. I talked to Big Lincoln Kennedy about it today. Lincoln doesn't believe that they have that tough identity. They don't have a snot blower, a guy who's going to come out there like Steve Wisniewski, a guy who's going to come out there and just be Richie Incognito, which Richie wasn't his greatest when he came here, but he still had something left, and he was an animal. We need to find an animal up front. We need to find someone or two or three players that are going to be nasty on every play. We don't have that yet. And that's got to change quickly, because if that doesn't change, the running game isn't going to get going, and the pass protection, if it's what we saw last night, the Raiders are in trouble. Now, I think they can fix that with their scheme, and they can find a way to make it happen. And you want to go out there and see guys, but you cannot have nice guys on the offensive line. They got to be badasses. They got to come out there ready to play. And I did not see that last night. So I thought the quarterback play was terrible. I thought the offensive line play overall was very weak. The defense played reasonably well. I mean, I can do 2 hours on how the Chargers only scored 20 points. How the hell did the Chargers only score 20 points? I mean, they got a gift. Here's the first interception of the game. This interception came in as Geno, on the first play of the game, I got a little bit of heat because I called it a fluke, because it kind of is. On the first play of the game, you don't see a ball ricochet like a pinball going into someone else's hands. Here's how it sounded. Yeah, so that is a disaster waiting to happen. And they only got a field goal out of it. I was cheering like it was a Super Bowl when they got a field goal there, and the Raiders are only down 3-0. And you're telling me after the first play of the game in the first series, the Chargers only scored 17 more points? The whole game? Wow, before everybody wants to crown the Chargers and how great they are, I didn't think their offense, they have no running game. They didn't have any running game at all. But Justin Herbert is a very good player. Very good player. So that's what we're doing here, and we're trying to figure out here. And we're trying to figure how the Raiders are going to be able to wake up and get it done. And you can't do that if your quarterback on the first play of a game throws an interception at home on Monday Night Football, where the crowd showed up big for the Raiders. I mean, that was one of the best pregame shows we've ever done. The place was rocking. And the fans in that first series did a really nice job, because the fans came out and they were loud, and Justin Herbert had to settle for a field goal. So that's how the game started off. And I couldn't believe it. I was in absolute shock. I said, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is the way the game is going to start? We've worked all off season to rebuild this team and brand it. And the first play of the season at Allegiant Stadium is an interception as the Raiders have their back to the end zone. Oh boy, that's not the way you want to start the season. And then after that, Geno threw a couple of deep ball interceptions, and he tried to take shots where people weren't open. Here's the next interception from Geno Smith. So that play there was just, okay, what do you do? What do you do there? He took a shot deep, but no one was open. So that leads me to another topic that we have to deal with. Another topic that we have to deal with, and that topic is the fact that why is nobody getting open? Nobody is getting open. And wow, that has to stop, man. we got to get people open. So Brock Bowers was not at 100%. Okay, so Brock Bowers was not at 100%, but he decided to play. And he had one target in the first half. How the hell does that happen? How does that happen that Brock Bowers, how does it happen that Brock Bowers is out on a football field and not getting a target? I talked about it last year, and he led the league in receptions for tight ends. He broke a record from the 60s. So he did get his targets, but I got to point out when he doesn't get any, I can't believe it. The receivers got no separation. So Dante Thornton Jr. is good enough to run deep. When he runs deep, you got to throw the ball over the defender's head. And as Kirk Morrison told me, you got to throw it over the head of Dante Thornton Jr. You cannot underthrow Dante Thornton Jr. And the same thing with Trey Tucker. When they are sprinting, you have to have the ball past them so they can go get it. Jack Besh, completely not available on the field for anything in this game. He's a second-round pick. Now, I'm a fan of him. He's just a new player in the league. He's an absolute new player in the league here. So when we look at his ability overall, that's a big deal. So everything that we saw last night offensively was a nightmare scenario. It was one of the worst offensive performances I've seen at Allegiant Stadium, period. And how are the Raiders going to be able to bounce back from that? How are the Raiders going to be able to put that behind them? Well, that's really what we're going to be talking about the rest of the week. The rest of the week is going to be about the Raiders bouncing back and putting a bad loss behind them. And if they're not able to put that bad loss behind them and this grows, this is going to be an issue. And there's going to be a lot of heat. And a lot of fans are going to be upset. And if the fans know, if you were there last night, I'm a season ticket holder, I couldn't believe how bad the offense was. And the offense couldn't get anything going at all. So 702-365-9200 is the number. 9200 is the number. 702-365-9200 if you want to call in. And we will go from there. But again, I am super, super disappointed. I couldn't be more disappointed with this offense. I did not think this was possible. I did not think this was possible for this offense to play this poorly. No way. You got Ashton Genty. You got Raheem Mostert, who's not playing. You got Michael Mayer, Jacoby Myers, who's shown up this year. You got Jack Besh in the second round, Dante Thornton. You got Trey Tucker, who scored a touchdown, first touchdown of the year in New England. And most, of course, you got Ashton Genty. And it doesn't work. Wow. And look, I think Chip Kelly is a really good play caller. So it's not all on Chip. And I don't think it's all on Geno, but I think most rational people will say this was more on Geno than it was on the coaches. I think it was more on Geno because he was rushed. He was under pressure. I think that Geno threw 3 picks in the game. Look, 2 of them, one was at the goal line, one was in the back of the end zone. That didn't kill the Raiders. It killed the drives. No doubt about it. It killed the opportunity. The first interception was just bad luck. Great play by the Chargers. It's a fluke because you rarely see an interception like that. An interception when it hits some guy in the chest is not a fluke. An interception when a corner turns his eyes and catches a ball, that's not a fluke. An interception is when you throw a rocket over the middle of the field and it deflects like a ping pong ball and someone catches it. That's kind of a fluke. Okay? You throw that ball 10 times, 100 times, it's going to get intercepted maybe twice. But I thought Geno, I was really troubled by Geno throwing the ball out of bounds on 4th down. And how about this second fumble or the fumble in the 4th quarter? Let's play this one where the Raiders had an opportunity late after another turnover by the Chargers.
So 3:51 to go, up 11. They're going to run. Oh, it's a fumble! And the Raiders are on top of it at the 29! Max Crosby delivered a hit to Amari and Hampton, who put it on the ground.
Okay, when that happened there Raiders an opportunity to go make a play. I mean, how do you do that if you're Jim Harbaugh? How do you do that if you're Jim Harbaugh? As they go out there and they try to go. The Raiders had an opportunity to go back. The Raiders have an opportunity to go back and win the game. Do you understand the 2 turnovers late? They turned it over on downs, and then they fumbled it. Do you understand the Raiders could have won the game? Won the game. All they had to do was throw a bomb and complete it, touchdown, and throw a bomb and get a flag at the 1-yard line. And then you're sitting there going, wow, the Raiders are down what then at that point? 20-9, and you're talking about maybe them going for 2, and it's 20-17. My God, then the Raiders could have got the ball back and won the game. Now, I don't think the Raiders deserve to win the game. I'm not going to reach that far. But I'm just saying, come on. Come on, everybody. I mean, talk about shooting yourself in the foot the entire game. The offense had nothing. The offense had nothing other than Jacoby Myers. I have confidence that Geno can play well and turn it around. I really do. I have confidence that Geno can put a loss like this behind him and turn it around. So I want to hear from everybody. We'll start with line 2, Chris in West Oakland. He called the post-game show. He called the show yesterday. And Chris, you got a chance to go to sleep on it. How'd you see it?
You're right about the interception. First off, you're right. Geno played awful. I think he'll play better. He threw 3 picks. Hell, the Chargers probably should have picked 2 or 3 more. But that first interception of the game, JT, it did hit a Charger right in the chest. The only reason it ricocheted is the defensive back that broke on the ball didn't catch it clean, or it might have been a pick 6. That was a horrible throw, not a fluke. Bad way to start, but they held him to 3. And you're right, too, about Harbaugh. I thought part of the reason the game stayed close, good old coaching 101 of bad play calling. You got Justin Herbert. You get first and goal at the 3. Let's run the ball in the pile 3 times, take it out of Herbert's hand. And then on 4th and 1, again, you run the ball and take it out of Herbert's hand. I thought they left the Raiders in the game and left some opportunity. 2 things I'm going to spin a little different than the post-game call last night. One, JT, I want you to ask Lincoln Kennedy the next time you talk to him about the blocking scheme. It seems to me with guys like Colton Miller, Graves, Johnson, JPJ, this is not a zone scheme type guy. These are big maulers. Zone blocking is more your faster, quicker linemen. This doesn't seem to be the kind of personnel the Raiders have. I'd love to hear Lincoln Kennedy's take. Maybe that's one of the reasons they're having trouble zone blocking right now. Also, maybe one of the reasons why, maybe the line just needs to gel a little bit more. We'll see going forward. Secondly, about opportunity, JP. You keep talking about the Chargers turn it over on down, could have got a touchdown. What's my pet peeve, brother? The one bad throw Herbert made last night, the worst throw. He dip-wrapped a pick 6 to Pratt, and he
dropped it
with 7.5 minutes to go. You catch that ball, you walk to the end zone, like you said, it's 2016 or 2017 at that point. It's a whole different game. Momentum has changed. The Raiders didn't deserve to win the game last night. No way. The Chargers look like a better team. Their defense is so much faster, so much more disciplined and more sure tackling. But the NFL games, JT, come down to little moments here and there. Opportunistic. You have chances to make plays. What have I always said? Good teams, opportunistic teams, make those plays. As bad as the Raiders were last night on offense, that one play could have turned the whole game around. And at the end of the day, they had the opportunity. It was gift wrapped. They didn't make the play, and we're sitting here scratching our head thinking, what if? That being said, it's game 2. As I thought all along, I thought the Chargers were better. I know I predicted the Raiders to win yesterday, but as I said, I predicted it. I wasn't going to bet on it. Got to go take care of business in Washington. I don't wish for injuries, but it won't bother me one bit if Jaden Daniels doesn't want to or can't play. Long, tough break for the Raiders. Short week, early start, East Coast road trip. Just got to strap it on and go play. It's one game. Just got to keep, like Lincoln kept saying last night, just got to keep working hard, keep getting better. And that's the one thing about Pete Carroll, will happen. this team will work hard, and I have no doubt they'll get better. Don't know how much better, but I hope, like you said on the post game, we look back in December or January that this was the worst performance of the year, because other than a couple of Jamarcus Russell games, last night as a Raider fan was one of the worst quarterback games I've seen in my lifetime. And again, it was just one game, wasn't all on Geno, but he definitely has to be better, because as I said last week with my prediction of the team, this team is going to go as far as Geno Smith takes them. Well, last night looks like they're about to. If last night's any indication, they're going to take him to a top 5 draft choice, but I don't believe that's going to be the case going forward. Thank you, my friend. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to you and Lincoln last night. Should be a good mix with you guys going. I miss Eric Allen, but Lincoln Kennedy's phenomenal. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. And, I had someone in the chat say, I'm surprised JT's overreacting this way. I'm not overreacting. Overreacting would be the Raiders can't win and the Raiders won't play better. I think the Raiders are going to play much better. Look, the travel scenario here is not ideal, but I talked to Pete Carroll about it today, and he's okay with it. This is what he does. So they're going to lose some time in preparation. Players off tomorrow, they're going to review the game. And he said they're going to review the game because they got to learn from the mistakes. Sometimes you hear people say, burn the tape, burn the tape. No, they got to learn from their mistakes from this game. And then they'll get ready for the Commanders. And I don't root injuries on anybody. I don't root for injuries. But Jaden Daniels is already injured. He's already questionable here on Tuesday. If he doesn't play in this game, the Raiders have more than a puncher's chance to win that game. Okay, Geno Smith is better than Marcus Mariota. Geno Smith's going to have a bounce-back game. The Commanders didn't look great. But if Jaden Daniels comes back and he's ready to play, the Raiders have their hands full. He's one of the best young players in football. He's one of the best young players we've seen in quite some time. All right, let's get out to Gangsta Raider as he joins us today, the aftermath of the loss last night. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Rick? I'm very disappointed. I predicted the score to be 34-17, and the defense showed up, only let them score 20. But I thought the offense would be much better.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very disappointed in Geno. I thought Geno would at least give me one passing touchdown. I expected one rushing touchdown from Gentry, and then another touchdown on defense. You know what I'm saying? We didn't get a touchdown at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm shocked. You couldn't have told me in a million years that a Chip Kelly offense would not score a touchdown on Monday Night Football. So I'm thoroughly disappointed. I'm not lost, on the team. I think the team can get it together, but we had it all in front of the table. The fate was set. The table was set for us last night. All we had to do was go eat, and we didn't have no teeth. We showed up with no teeth, couldn't eat. So I'm very disappointed. You know what I'm saying? And I want to say to Raider Nation, don't give up on the team. You know what I'm saying? We still got a quarterback. He just had a bad day, and we got to get that line together. We got to get our offensive line together, though, JT. But I'm very disappointed. We had it all up for us. We just show up with no teeth. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't think the Raiders showed up on offense. They didn't show up in one of the biggest spots you can show up: a home opener, and a home opener on Monday Night Football. I mean, come on. The offense was a no-show. That's easy to say. You're not negative if you say that about the Raiders. We're evaluating a football game. We watch television and talk about it. The Raiders had a really bad game, but not the defense. Not the defense. Yeah, I thought that the way that the Raiders were playing on offense and how good the Chargers are, the Chargers could have won that game something like 41-14. They could have won that game 34-16. Something like that. So for the fact that the Raider defense showed up and played at a very high level and kept getting off the field, that's something to build on. It is something to build on. But I've done a lot of shows after a loss. Okay, and in life, I'm a glasses half full guy in life. On radio, I'm a glasses half empty guy. So I always struggle with that. And, the one thing after doing this 28 seasons for the Raiders, I don't give a crap when anybody thinks about my coverage, saying that I'm a homer or I'm too easy on them. I'm not, because that's couldn't be opposite from the truth. You won't find a guy more critical of the team when they play poorly. But when the coach comes in here, I'm not going to say, Coach, get out. You lost the game. I mean, we got to find the balance of what they're doing right, which is a 1-1 start to a lot of teams going 0-2. The monologue brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka. My go-to vodka is Tito's, one of the greatest American success stories in the spirits business. Alex Echelman will join us, Levi Edwards, and Jeff Sherman from Raiders headquarters.
It's the morning tailgate.
This fits. Yeah, sports. We have people.
Yeah, sorry about some of those tech issues. So we're good now. Mics are all up. Mics are good. You know, it's JT Raw. I don't have my home microphones here, so hopefully we got everything going right. Okay. So yeah, everybody's got to let it out today, man. Everybody hit the like button. Please hit subscribe, and everybody just let it out, man. Hey, Jess, I'm going to send you Alex's phone number so you can call her because I know the phones are full, right? Okay, well, did she have a different call-in number? Okay. What do you mean separate line for call-ins? If she's calling in like a regular caller, if she calls in, what's the call-in number? It's the same one, right? I'm confused. Okay, all right. Okay. Oh man, I'm doing a lot of work here. We're getting it all done for you. Delivering the post-game product. The post-game product. Yeah, I was really disappointed with the way the game played out. Especially as the season ticket holder, kind of was a gut punch. Oh my God. All right, let's get this thing done here. What do we got here? Alex Echelman. E-S. Here we go. We'll forward that to Jess. All right. All the fluff and no wins. Well, the Raiders got to win. You might be talking about someone else. I mean, Geno's not a bad quarterback. Come on, dude. All the numbers that Geno put up 4,000 plus yards, 70% completion rate ratio. He had a bad game. He had a bad game. We could say he had a bad game. If you ever watch baseball, Ohtani's had games where he struck out 4 times. Pitchers get knocked out in the first inning. It happens. It happens. So was that thing not on?
It was just down. That's what it
Yeah.
was, the remote part.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe it was just catching the logo.
Yeah.
It's good now, though.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they're saying it's all right. Yeah. I mean, I'm still in shock that the Chargers only scored 20 points. I can't come to grips with that. I cannot believe the Chargers only scored 20 points. What does that say about the Chargers? The Raiders couldn't do anything offensively, and the Chargers only got 20 points. Yeah, it was a home field advantage. The crowd was great. Oh, yeah, I got to do a show tonight I definitely have to get a nap in. I'm not a big nap guy, but I need to get a nap in today. I gotta get some shut eye before tonight's Mad Dog show.
I believe it's late night last night.
Yeah. And microphones muting for no reason, like we got a ghost in here or something today. We're all set. Gino had a bad game. So as I'm talking to people here in the chat, I said it also. What is a bad game? A bad game is when a pitcher can't get out of the first inning, he gives up 6 runs. What's a bad game? When a tennis player is really good and he loses in straight sets. What's a bad game? When an NBA player, Steph Curry is 3 of 15 from 3. That's a bad game. Gino had a really bad game. So what do you want to do? Do you want to say that Gino's going to play every game bad? Tom Brady signed off on this, and Pete Carroll and John Spytek. They don't think that Gino's going to have a bad game every time he plays. But Gino's shown this, that he's really good at putting a bad game behind him. And a couple of my takeaways last night after the game was, Pete Carroll clearly said that on those long ball turnover interceptions, he'd like to see the ball and better decisions, maybe a check down there or something shorter. We talked about that today, and he likes that. Well, anybody can say that when you throw an interception in the end zone. What were the other options? I didn't see many. And the other big thing, as I bring in my first guest today, the other big thing that I didn't see is I didn't see a lot of guys open. And when you don't see a lot of people open or coming back to the ball, that concerns me. Alex Echelman joins us from KTNV. She was doing a pregame special and was there all night. And Alex, disappointing loss because the energy at Allegiant Stadium was off the hook. That was a great home atmosphere. Wouldn't you agree?
JT, couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. I mean, the anticipation leading up to that matchup was fantastic. I mean, it was a star-studded night. You had Tom Brady there. You had Terrence Crawford there, Charles Woodson, you name it. It had everything for the making to be a great Monday Night Football game for the Raiders. And unfortunately, it didn't pan out in their favor. But listening to Pete Carroll today earlier, kind of reflecting on this matchup, there's a lot to learn, and it's week 2. So I think there's a lot of positives that we can take away, but definitely not the outcome that we wanted to see.
Yeah, I think part of the problem here is the offensive line. They're not run blocking, so they can't get Ashton Genty going. And last night, I think Gino was really scattered and running for his life. He's scrambling a lot because just the offensive line is not where it needs to be after 2 weeks.
Yeah, and, one thing you said, JT, earlier in the week in your show, you said the Raiders need to do 2 things. They need to stop the pass and establish the run. And, when you look at that offense, you mentioned it, Geno Smith in that first opening series when he threw that first of 3 picks. And that's not like him. We know that. I mean, that was, unfortunately for him, the worst performance for him as a starter since 2014. I mean, it's been a decade, essentially, for him to have that kind of performance, and it had to be on a Monday night. But if there's any one thing about Geno that I love, he knows how to handle adversity and setbacks and obstacles better than anybody. And he's such a class act when doing it. And I think he talked about that after the game. He said, you know what? There's a lot that I need to fix. I'm going to be really hard on myself. I know how to do that, and I'm going to get better this week prior to the Commanders, and I believe that he will.
Alex Echelman is our guest, ABC 13. So I think it's important that Geno bounces back quickly here. Raider Nation knows that he puts up 70% completion percentage, 4,000 yards, but leading the league in interceptions, getting off to the start like this, I think the Raiders are very fortunate to be 1-1. That's what I thought they'd be. I thought they'd be 1-1, 2-2. They might be able to get a break and go to 3-1, but they're going to have to play better because they do have really good teams on the schedule. In the next 2 weeks, Jaden Daniels might not play for the Commanders, and then the week after that is the Bears, and the Bears look to be the biggest mess in the NFL. After the first 2 weeks, Joe Burrow was out in Cincinnati. The Raiders also play the Titans and the Giants and some other teams that struggled here. But I think the country is going to be waiting to see that Pete Carroll can turn that bad performance around quickly, make adjustments, and be much more competitive.
I agree. And I think too, the Las Vegas Raiders, and you know this better than anybody, JT, but this team has so many more eyeballs on it than a lot of other teams. It's one of those prestigious, huge, worldwide brand names that it comes with a lot of expectation, not only from their own fan base, but also from the NFL. Because when the Raiders are looking good, the NFL is looking good. And so I think, to your point, yes, they do need to turn it around quickly here. I think that they're able to do it. I think this week, the Commanders, it will be interesting to see if Daniels is playing or not. And then the week after that, you mentioned it, the Bears. I will be concerned if we don't beat the Bears. I mean, I don't know what else to say there. I mean, I feel more than confident that we're able to overcome them. And also, when you look at last year, and I know this is a brand new year, but to me, just staying above 500 right now is a positive. So if we can get through these 4 games, you've also mentioned this in your show, the first 4 games of a regular season are critical. And I think they're able to stay above 500, don't you think?
Yeah, I do. I think that if things go right, you're not going to win another game if you don't play better and you don't have an offense that can score, and you're not going to get a touchdown and you're going to turn it over. You're going to struggle against any team out there, but I think it'll be corrected. And I tell you, Alex, you were there. I was there. I was surprised the Chargers only scored 20 points. The fact that the Raider defense kept stopping the Chargers. Chargers had no running game at all. Nothing was working for them. And the fact that they were stopped gave the Raiders the ball back multiple times in the fourth quarter to do something. It's just unfortunate they couldn't do anything about it.
I'm curious, JT, do you think the Chargers are that legit this year? Because a part of me really thinks that this might be their year.
Yeah, the Chargers are very good. The Chargers are bigger than I thought. They're faster. They're stronger. They're nastier. They're a better team than the Raiders now. But I think the Raiders could beat them. The Raiders could beat them if they get to halftime and it's a 14-14 game and Geno outplays Herbert in the second half. And Ashton Genty, right, who's a guy coming in here who should be able to take over the league as a rookie if he can run in space, does that. You only play 2 times a year out of 365 days. The ball bounces differently. But no doubt the Chargers were the team that I've been concerned about. And I think the Chargers came into the building the better team and obviously left the better team.
A couple of highlights that, and I posted this on X now, I was going to say Twitter, but I did enjoy, even despite the loss, I did enjoy seeing Caillou Blue and Jonah Lavalou, 2 Vegas natives, have solid performances. I mean, if there's one, I mean, I think there's a handful of bright spots that we can take away that the Raiders can run with and build upon from this learning lesson. But if anything, I was so happy to see those 2 local kids get a spotlight and have a moment in front of their families. I talked to Jonah earlier in the week, and he said he had at least 14 family and friends. They were all sitting in a section cheering for him, and that is so cool and so special for those guys. So I was happy for them.
Yeah, I think that, you do this, and you do this at a high level in this town. You got to understand that there's big events, right? There's Canelo Crawford on Saturday night. There's Monday Night Football. It's magnified because it's in Vegas, and the losses are magnified because it's in Vegas. I think it's going to be the job of Pete Carroll to take all the energy from last week and Monday Night Football, which was last night, and calm everybody down and say, we got this. We're going to have a big week of preparation. We're healthier than the Commanders. Let's get on the plane. Everybody get some rest on the plane. We're going to get there ahead of time. We're going to put the game plan in and go win because the Commanders are good, but they're not super elite. They're not as good as the team they were last year, and they won a lot of close games. I think this is going to be an important early season moment for Pete Carroll to tell his team, you got to be there for me now. You didn't play well in certain aspects of the game. I'm expecting more out of you.
JT, to your point, I'm curious of your thoughts on this, but I feel like, every game is one of those games for the Raiders right now. And for Pete Carroll, the eyeballs are on Carroll, the Raiders. People want to see them turn it around. They believe that they can turn it around, but every game it's dramatic to say, but it kind of feels like a playoff-esque game. Like it is do or die every single week for these guys.
Yeah, it is 100%. Great seeing you last night. Great work on that pregame special, and we'll do it in a couple of weeks again. I'll see you at the facility.
Thank you, JT. Always an honor to be on your show.
It's my pleasure to have you. Alex Echelman, Raiders Insider. She does a great job. Check her out on ABC 13. Follow her on X. She's very good at what she does. That's why we added her. We wanted to add people on the show that could do a good job. Dane in Las Vegas on 920. Dane, let's get you up here. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, JT. Just a couple positives I had from last game. It's been pretty negative today, but there were a couple things that I think that we could write home about. First of all, like everyone's been saying, it was a great home field show out on Monday Night Football. That was about as black as I've seen the stadium. And I go to all the games, right? And we criticize when there's a ton of opposing fans showing up at our stadium. So I think it's important that we keep drilling it, that when it's the opposite, when the Raider fans show up and show out, that we give credit to them. It's unfortunate the game went the way it was or the way it did, but a huge credit to Raider Nation for showing up last night. And I hope that last night's game doesn't sour them on continuing to show up. We need that. When week 4 against the Bears is going to be a big test. But keep showing up. Your guest just said Jonah Laulu. That was one thing I wanted to talk about. I thought he had a great game. Last thing, I know Gino had a horrible night. But one thing that I took away from him that was a positive is he does have functional mobility. I mean, the line had him scrambling for his life, but in years past, we've had some quarterbacks that couldn't scramble for their life, right? As soon as that line gave it up, it was a sack. So I think one positive that we saw from Gino yesterday is that he has some escapability, and I think that's going to play a big part in games later in the season. Last thing, I know I said last thing, but I do have one more. The one thing I didn't like on defense, even though if you would have asked us last week, Monday Night Football, Chargers are going to get 20 points. We take that deal 100 times out of 100. 100 times out of 100, we take 20 points. I don't like seeing Max Crosby and Malcolm Kuntz in coverage. I know I'm not a defensive coordinator, but you're telling me that Justin Herbert looks at, instead of having Max running down his throat, stripping the ball, coming after him, he sees him out there in coverage as a linebacker? That's his dream. I don't understand that. Again, I'm not a defensive coordinator. No shots at Patrick Graham.
Got it.
But you're going to have to explain that one to me like I'm 5. I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I was pretty shocked at that point. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. I'm running a little bit late. We're going to get out to Jeff Sherman in a moment over at the Westgate, the VP of Risk Management over at the Superbook on some of the gambling aspects that we're seeing the first 2 weeks in the league as we come back here. If you want to get through or if you're on hold, 702-365-9200, brought to you by the M Resort Spa and Casino, where a lot of Raider alumni stay when they come in for the week. From the pool to the dining, the Raiders Tavern and Grill, the great service. It all starts at the M Resort Spa and Casino, proud partner of our show. You can get him up now if you want. So when we come out of the break, he's ready to go in a minute or two. Oh, all right. Let me get in this chat. Hey, everybody, do me a favor. I don't want to do anything that's going to ban someone or if someone's going to threaten someone or do something stupid. So don't do that. Don't put us in a position where we're going to have to mute you or ban you. I'm not in the mood for it if you don't understand already what's happened. And I don't need this. This is a privilege to be in here. This is something I do so everybody can have a good time. So if you're going to get political or you're going to talk about something we're not comfortable with, you will not be back. And yeah, you can call me the brick-tater, whatever you want to do, but I'm not going to stand for it. And again, that's it. So most people are great. I think 99% of the people are great. But when I'm getting texts, we got to get rid of someone or someone's doing this or that, show some respect here. Grow up if you're not grown up. And don't take advantage of something that's pretty cool. That's it. All right. Oh, I bumped into some people. I saw Fabian out there. I saw a couple other people there. It was nice. Went with my wife and my two sons were there. Yeah, Genty whiffed on some plays, but Genty's not been able to get to the line of scrimmage. I mean, look, Genty is dealing with what young running backs do, who get drafted high because the teams don't have a good record. He's struggling to get to the line of scrimmage because there's not a lot of holes. And he's got to find the holes. I think they need to run him outside a little bit more. I really do. I think they need to pitch the ball to him. Running Genty straight at guys who are 360 pounds with this offensive line is probably not going to work. Oh. Oh. Yeah. Long night last night. He lost yards going lateral last night. All right, Matt, you're right. What do you want him to do? If you're pissed off that Genty went lateral, fair enough. Did you think something was open north and south and he avoided it? He didn't avoid it. He had to go lateral because there was nothing open. Bobby had one fumble last year. He's out of the penalty box. He's playing better. Pete Carroll's excited about him.
Back 1 minute. We'll have about just under 5 minutes here.
And just come right back to me, Jess. No promo, no highlight. Just open my mic because I want to get it quick.
Make credit decisions. Must be 18 years old. Not available in all states.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by the DeCasta Verde Law Group. If you get injured in an accident, call 702-222-9999.
All right, JT, back with you. We're running a little bit late here. I want to get to my friend Jeff Sherman, the VP of Risk Management over at the Westgate. So, Jeff, big night, Monday Night Football. I wanted to talk about the handle for Monday Night Football for the Raiders and the handle for the Crawford fight against Canelo. Two big nights almost back-to-back in Vegas.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And the boxing was our largest handled boxing event of the year by far. A tremendous handle. A lot of public play on Crawford. The public did well with him. Between all the props and everything we had up, we came out a small winner on the fight, but it was very well received. And then last night's game, the Chargers and Raiders, was our highest handled game of the week, with it being so late on a Monday night. So we had some liability on the Chargers. The public was involved with them, so they came out ahead on that side.
Yeah, I'm surprised the Chargers didn't score more points than 20, so it was a high over number on that one, so it hit under the number with the Chargers covering the spread, and the Raiders couldn't get anything going on offense.
Yeah, it was a tough night for Geno Smith, and but the Chargers easily could have won that game by more than they had.
Yes.
The way that the Raiders had played. So it's by it staying under the total that helped us out a little bit.
How does that affect the Raiders with the Commanders now as questionable already early in the week as Jaden Daniels? And the fact I think that number went from about 7.5 to 3.5. Is that accurate?
We had it on the early look-ahead line. We had the Commanders 6.5. And then with the Daniels news, we adjusted down to 3. And then with the way that the Raiders looked last night, it settled at Commanders minus 3.5 currently.
Well, no surprise there. And what about the Joe Burrow line and what's going to happen with the Bengals going forward? I know the quarterback affects the line, if you could tell our audience.
Yeah, Burrow's worth about 4 points to the line. This is a very interesting case this week because they're playing at the Vikings. And the Vikings did not look very well in their first 2 games, so you don't see a pure 4-point move with the Burrow information because we had to relax on the Vikings power rating. So the look-ahead line we had, Vikings were 1.5-point home favorite against the Bengals. They're only a 3-point favorite, so you see a 1.5-point move, and a lot of that, like I mentioned, has to do with how poorly the Vikings have looked.
I see also a line movement in favor now coming down for the Cardinals as they're getting points against the 49ers. 49ers still without Brock Purdy.
Yeah, it's gone back and forth. We had on the early line, we had the 49ers a 1.5-point favorite with Purdy out. Went down to pick, and now it's back to the 49ers minus 1.5. The Sharps have played the 49ers at pick them in this spot. So, but I think the public will be involved in the Cardinals with their 2-0 start and with the Niners with the backup quarterback there with Mac Jones.
Hey, before we go, tell me about the Ryder Cup. It's in my hometown where I went to high school, Farmingdale, at Bethpage Black. What is it looking like for you? What the handle could look like? I know you're putting up some props. Tell everybody what they should look forward to.
Yeah, tremendous handle so far. The U.S. is $1.50 favorite. Europe, you can get at plus 170 if you want them on the 3-way. All these golfers are coming in great form. They all played last week on the PGA Tour and the DP Tour. Should be a very well-handled event. But right now, the sharp money's been on the U.S.
Sharp money on the U.S. Jeff, we'll have more time next week. I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for all the great work at the Westgate. How's the Super Contest going?
Great. It's been a struggle for the leaders in that, though. I believe they're 1-9 in the first 2 weeks.
Whoa! 1-9 for the leaders. Unbelievable.
For the consensus.
Got a consensus. Yeah, 1-9. Starting off this week, proving how difficult it is. Thanks, Jeff. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, JT.
That's Jeff Sherman over at the Westgate. It's the sharpest sports book in the world. No debate. You might like another sports book more. The sharpest lines will be there with Jeff Sherman and the staff and everybody over there at the Westgate. That hour flew by. I was out at the stadium late last night, didn't get home till midnight, was here at 9 a.m, interviewed the head coach, did a TV show with Eric Allen and Lincoln Kennedy, and we got another hour on the radio. Levi Edwards will join me in studio. Stick around for that coming up here. I'm in the chat to talk during the top of the hour. JT the Brick YT, brought to you by the DeCastro Verde Law Group. All right, everybody. We're right here. We got a good number. I'll keep this thing going. For a few more minutes for Levi. Okay. I'll be right there, everybody. All right. Fast paced.
Today. Call to view the medication guide and to learn more about Ozempic. Semaglutide injection 0.5, 1, and 2 milligrams.
Grimaldi's is hands down my favorite pizza in Vegas. Only at Grimaldi's can you get their famous New York style cold fire pickup pizza. Grimaldi's has 4 locations in the Vegas area. Check it out online at Grimaldi's. All right, so we're gonna get Levi. Levi's gonna go there. I'll probably just use the microphone, and we'll go from there. Yep. So Levi will join us. So I'll probably put this over here. Pretty primitive with this microphone. I know it pisses people off, but it's all I can deal with. I got it. Thanks. Yep. We're going to figure out how to run everything through StreamYard, but as of now, I'm doing a show in 3 different locations. Doing a show from home, I'm doing a show from here, and I'm doing a show from the studio. All right, Levi Edwards will join us next. Yeah, the crowd was really good last night. I thought the crowd was great. You know, there's not a lot of Charger fans, but some Charger fans showed up. There were a few. I had a friend of mine who's a Charger fan come. Wanted to take a picture with me on the stage, and I said no, because I don't want to give pictures to Charger fans. All right, let's do another hour of radio. Okay. If you got a question or two for Levi, let me know. Who's hating on D. Miller? Who's D. Miller?
Play harder longer than the guy lining up across from the team lining up across from me. And if you're not, then I want to be the space that's where the Raiders live in for guys like excellence every day. And now here's JT.
Hour number 2. I'm live at Raiders headquarters, and that's what we're doing here today. We're talking to people after the Raiders loss on Monday Night Football. And Gino, as Josh is saying in our live feed on YouTube, Gino just wasn't himself, trying to win on his own. I don't know if that was the case. Gino didn't play well. And we don't want to see a lot of games like that. We want to see Gino play great. And we want to see Gino go out and dominate games and go out there and play great. Those are asking me about Tom Brady. I got a couple of people in the chat. Tom Brady was in the booth. Tom Brady is allowed to do whatever he wants to and is allowed to do by the league and the Raiders. So everybody's saying Tom Brady is a minority owner with the team. Everything he does is approved by Fox, the league, and the Raiders. That's it. So if people want to, ESPN's number 1 trending story yesterday was Tom Brady was there in the booth. He was right next to me. The next booth over, wearing a headset. The owner of the Indianapolis Colts is on the sideline wearing a headset. Now, for those who are saying it could give him an advantage in broadcasting, I don't see it. He's already, he's at a position now where he's got the rules of being a broadcaster, and he's very new to that. And again, I think everything Tom Brady does in life, when it comes to what's happening now as a owner of a football team, and I think he's the highest paid broadcaster in sports, right? Or at the top, so right at the top. I think everything that he's agreed to is cleared. So I don't have a comment on it much because I'm in the building where he's a minority owner. I'm not going to sit here and go out on a rant either way because I'm not that familiar with everything that he's doing, but he has the ability to pick up the phone and talk to people. As Pete Carroll said earlier today in his press conference, none of it's planned. You know, it's very organic when he talks, and he's pretty busy, and he's traveling the world and doing a lot of other things there. So I'd rather focus on the game. That's what I've been saying. I'm focusing on sports, everybody here. And the game was concerning to me because I just don't think the Raiders played up to their ability. And if you're worried about that, I care about your opinion. If you are worried about that and you think that this could be a pattern, that's very important. And I think that's something that we'll get to right now because a lot of fans want to talk about this. Mikey in Staten, Italy. Mike in Manhattan, you start us off. You've been waiting the longest. And thanks for fight night. We hung out at the fight together, had a nice meal. And what do you think of the Raider performance last night?
Well, first thing I want to start with, JT. Everybody that was throwing dirt on Vegas being the entertainment capital of the world should have been there this weekend. It was completely insane. And what a great job by the stadium to turn it around for 70,000 people. And then the Monday night game, which I couldn't be at, but it looked amazing. JT, the one thing I take from this is, long term, it's 1-1 before the season started, going into week 3 without them having Daniels. Sign me up for it. But JT, the one thing I said, we have Max Crosby in his prime. I need to see him in the big game. He single-handedly tried to keep us in that game. And when he punched that ball out of that running back at the end, I thought we were going to have the magic. But we're 1-1. We're going to go in there. The one thing that's different than this Vegas Raider team is they played hard for 60 minutes. Nobody complaining. We'll be fine. I need Gentry to break a few tackles. But, JT, I don't know if you saw it. One of the biggest gaffes ever happened in the game before. The Texans, the Todd Bowles outcoached them, let him score from 22 yards to get the ball back to let Baker go down the field and win the game. If that was New York, if that was Los Angeles or Vegas, the people would have been screaming. What was the Texas coach thinking? Hey, JT, have a great night.
Thank you, Mikey. Good seeing you at the fight. We ended up going to the fight together and standing around for a bit. We were sitting in different sections, but I really appreciate hanging out with a good friend of mine there. Yeah, that was an interesting play on time and clock management. That was left, and Baker Mayfield picked up on it. Remember, I'm the guy, and I like Geno, and I've met Geno now, and I'm cool with Geno. Right? We're pro Geno here in the building. I'm the guy who told everybody in Vegas, me, no one on the news, no one nationally, JT the Brick in the third person said, hey, Baker Mayfield's available at $30 million. Remember that? I told everybody Baker Mayfield was available. Russell Wilson was available for what, $1? What was it, $1 million? After they let him go for $230 million, he looked pretty good. He threw for 450 yards in Dallas. Should have won that game. But Geno's going to have to come out. And look, everybody knows that Geno's upset he lost. He's going to have a great week of preparation. And hopefully the coaches put him in a better position to go out there. Maybe the coaches did. No one's talking enough about the fact that the Raider receivers didn't get much separation. That is a concern to me. When Bowers is not at 100% and Bowers isn't causing chaos over the middle of the field, that is a problem. And we need Brock Bowers. I don't know how much healthier Brock's going to be. He clearly wasn't 100%. Does that mean he'll be 100% for this game? I don't know. I don't know if Jaden Daniels is going to play either. Robert in Portland. Always appreciate you waiting, Robert. Thanks for being patient. Go ahead.
Hey, JT, like I said, they had to run the ball and get a turnover and not turn the ball over. So, it's obvious why they lost. I want to ask you a question. If Geno had Neighbors as a long threat, you saw Wilson use that guy. Do you think I know they couldn't run the ball, but do you think James could have handled Neighbors?
Yeah, Neighbors is unique. Neighbors, we got Dante Thornton Jr., who runs faster than Neighbors, right? So when we look at Trey Tucker, Doesn't Trey Tucker run as fast as Neighbors? Is that what you're asking in regards to the speed and open up the top?
No, that's a good point. What I'm asking is, you know, when Gino was in trouble in Seattle, he had Metcalf and Lockett late in games.
Yes.
And he would come through because those guys would either come back to the ball or they would, you know, get behind somebody that was making a mistake. I'm not saying the Raider receivers are incapable of doing that. I'm just saying when you can't run the ball, you got to have you got to pull some magic out of the hat. And you know, the fact that you know, our offensive line is struggling still for the 15th year in a row, it seems like it's something that Gino's going to have to, you know, he's just going to have with one of these guys. And you say Thornton may become the Neighbors. That may be true. I'm not going to deny that. I'm just saying he had Lockett and Metcalf up in Seattle, and he doesn't have that now.
No.
Because those guys, they were clutch when it was time to come through for Pete. He knew those guys would come through. Pete was as befuddled as anybody during his post-game, you know, talk. He says, I'm going to have to look at this film and wonder why the middle of the field wasn't used. Now, you know, Bowers was a big difference because New England had to account for Bowers in that game a week ago. And the Chargers really didn't. They just needed to stuff the run, concentrate on Gente, make sure he didn't get anywhere, and then just keep the zone secondary controlling the receivers. And I think that's why you don't have guys wide open against teams like the Chargers.
Yeah, I didn't think the Chargers, thanks for the call, really good, real detailed on that. I didn't think the Chargers were that good defensively until I saw them this year. That was the one thing I talked about with one of my sons when I got home last night late. And he's there. He's sitting with my wife and me in the section we sit in. And we said, man, the Chargers look bigger, stronger, and faster. And if it turns out the Chargers develop that defense and that defense gets better, they're going to be a tough out. Because look last night. You would have thought at one point that Brandon Staley was coaching. Again, not Jim Harbaugh. They went for a run on 4th down and lost yardage when they should have punted. And then they also fumbled the ball when they came back. They did everything they could in the second half to let the Raiders not win the game, but for the Raiders to hang around. That is a flaw of the Chargers. But the Chargers are 2-0 in the AFC West. I think now they're going to control their destiny there, and the Broncos and Kansas City and the Raiders are going to have to chase them down. Chargers are a very good team. I couldn't have told you that anymore last week. Every day I told you that this is the most concerned I've personally been about the Chargers in 25 years. And I don't think they played great last night. The defense was outstanding, but they only scored 20 points, which is a miracle that the Raiders didn't give up more than that. And Pete Carroll's pretty excited. He told me before we went on camera on TV today, he said, you know, this defense the last 2 weeks is balled out. And what the caller said too, Robert, and even before that, Mikey said, team plays hard. We've been around here a long time. Antonio Pierce's team played hard, and they lost 10 in a row. We're sick. We are sick and tired of losing. We want to win every game. Every game. Levi Edwards is going to join us coming up here momentarily, and we'll get his analysis of the game. When you lose, it's hard. But from sitting down with Pete Carroll, the only thing I can share with you and share with you is that he's first off chill. He just chill. He sits down. I'm the loud guy. I'm toning it down in these conversations. And my voice is loud. This is how I talk on the radio. He is chill. And he loves this team. And he can find the positives in it. I think that Pete's disappointed that the team took a lot of bold chances deep and turned the ball over. That is not good. Joe in South Jersey, you're up next. Thank you, Joe. What's going on?
Hey, JT, how you doing?
Doing good, Joe.
Disappointed in the game. good. Thank you.
Mm.
Disappointed in the game last night. Stayed up to 1 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast to watch that.
What a joke. What a joke. Hold on. What a joke. What a joke that they make you wait up that late to watch a game. It's disgusting. The Raiders should have kicked off at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 Eastern. You should have been able to watch the Raiders at Allegiant Stadium in a glamorous stadium with the backdrop of the Vegas Strip, 90 degrees outside, drones flying around, and they're begging half the country to go to bed. I'm sick of this in sports. In boxing, the fight didn't go off till, midnight Eastern. People want to watch Canelo Bud Crawford. I'm sick of it.
Yep, exactly right. And by the time I digested the loss, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I had to get up at 7 o'clock to go to work, so wasn't a great night. But I think your first caller today hit it on the head. I think the Raiders' zone blocking scheme is terrible. It's one of the worst in the league. The offensive linemen by trade are maulers. And the Raiders, these guys should be doing what they do best, and they maul people. They turned Colton Miller, who was a mauler in college, into basically a pussycat. Now he's been like that for the past 5 years. You think Art Shell and Gene Upshaw? You think they were in a zone blocking scheme? No way. They were in a man blocking scheme. It's me versus you, power versus power, and the Raiders aren't going to correct themselves unless they fix that zone blocking scheme or turn it to a man blocking scheme. They need to help out. Geno Smith. Otherwise, it's gonna be more of the same every week. He's gonna have to pass 43 times a game, and we can't. We're not gonna win games like that. We gotta pass. This guy's gonna be passed 20, 25 times, and we gotta run the ball 25, 30 times. We got to get Gentry in space. He's got to do his thing, and that's how you win ball games. And right now, it doesn't look that way through the first 2 weeks. I just hope it's not more of the same what I saw with the Josh McDaniels and the regimes before him. I mean, it all started with Tom Cable years ago. They brought in the zone blocking scheme, and the Raiders haven't had success since the 80s and early 90s. That's it, JT. Thanks for giving me the time. I wish Raider Nation a lot of love and good luck. I love the Raiders since 1972. Since 1972, I watch them all the time. I wish Raiders fans a lot of luck.
Thank you, man. That was an outstanding phone call. Outstanding. And that guy called from South Jersey. I'm from Long Island. I love that phone call because he gets it. And it's a perfect segue to Levi Edwards, who joins us here from the Raiders digital team and in-house here. The caller, before you came in and was walking in, talked about, and Lincoln told us today on Roundtable, got to find some nastier guys up front or just get them to be more nasty. I mean, this is an organization built on Otto with his nose broken and blood coming down his face. Not everybody can be Art Shell and Gene Upshaw. I get it. But I'm not seeing the nastiness. I'm not seeing the body language. I'm not seeing guys like punching air coming back to the huddle here. I think this offensive line needs to get going.
Yeah, and obviously they could be a little more physical, but that's not really necessarily what I noticed when I look at the offensive line. They just need the communication needs to be there. It's been 2 straight weeks where they keep on getting messed up on certain blitz packages. It's the second week where they come out with these different stunts where you have guys coming from the outside in, you have linebackers blitzing, and they can't pick it up, and then you have to ask more out of Ashton Gentry to do a lot of things with, pass pickups. And he's been doing a decent job so far, but you would hope that the communication there is just a little better to where you're not depending on your running back as a last resort to pick up a blitz so Geno Smith doesn't get sacked.
Very interesting point. So you got to keep Ashton on the field because he's a potential superstar. But what about Michael Mayer and the other ability to chip and help there? Because I want Michael Mayer to be used in the passing game too. It just seemed Lincoln said there's a lot of max protection being thrown out there for a reason.
Yeah, and it's really just because the communication issues are still there. And I believe that it's one of those things where Jordan Meredith, despite how good or bad he plays at center, at the end of the day, he is learning a new position on the run. Like it's one of those things where he has been a guard for all of his career, and then he gets asked this offseason, hey, man, we need you to play center. And he's played a little bit of center as like scout team or, with practice squad, but this is his first time in an actual game where he's playing against a real defensive line at center. And so he's still trying to figure things out. And then on top of that, you had Kappa who had to play because JPJ was out. So then you have a different configuration than what you had to play with throughout, training camp and the offseason. So it's just really tricky for all of them to try to get on the same page. And you see it in real time, them legitimately trying to figure it out.
It didn't seem like Dylan Parham had a good game. And what are we sensing with him in the position that he's playing in? Do we need more out of him? Is he one of the guys who needs to improve quickly here with his role with the team?
I think Dylan Parham has really been one of the more consistent players on the offensive line. Maybe not necessarily this year, but I would say if you watch anything from last year, really since he's been drafted, I think he's probably been one of the better players on the line, excluding Colton Miller. So I think he really just had a bad game, and you just have to chalk it up to that. And on top of that, he's also in the same position as anyone else where he's at that left guard. He's still getting adjusted to playing with a new center. He has a lot of different moving parts around him. And I think yesterday he held up his blocks for the most part. Really just those holding penalties really were killing the Raiders on offense, especially on, some of these deep drives that they were going on where you could have had 7, but now you have to settle for 3 because you have these penalties and really mental issues. So I really do like him as a player, and I think he does bring that physicality, like what you were talking about, of anyone on the offensive line. He has to just really keep it all together, I would say.
I thought on that long scoring drive where the Raiders just had to get a field goal, I understand why fans wanted to go for it on 4th down, but they needed points because the drive was so long and they were going backwards at that point.
Right.
If they didn't score or get a first down there and got nothing out of that drive, it would have been a disaster. So, of course, we're not thrilled that they settled for 3, but it kept them in the game.
I'm really split on that, JT. I'm going to be honest with you because when you're on the field for 11 minutes, obviously points are good, but, you're on the field for 11 minutes.
Yeah.
You convert on 3rd down, 5 times on that drive, I believe. And it really would have been 6. However, the Geno run that got cleared out because of the penalty, like we were just talking about. So it would have been 6 3rd down conversions if it wasn't for that. Put him in the bad spot. So it's really one of those things where I understand you need to take the points, and it was still a really close game at that point of okay, you put points on the board. If you get another stop, then you can potentially keep yourself in the game. But when you're on the field for that long, 19 plays, I'm just going to say screw it, man. Let me get the 7.
Yeah,
let me try to go for the 7.
I'm looking at that drive and the amount of time it just took. It was wild. And
19 plays, 11 minutes and 15 seconds to get 3 points.
And the Chargers had a long drive, too, before that for 3 points.
Right.
So it ate up. And you know me, we've been friends a while. When I get up to the booth in the 3rd, sometimes to the 4th quarter, I'm looking directly at the opposite side of the building and the clock. And I just have this natural instinct that I look at the clock. And when I see the play clock and the game clock going down and the Raiders are trailing by 2 scores, I want everything to be fast. And on that drive, the huddles and the huddles and the huddles and, taking the play clock down. And I get it. They were so long into that drive. They wanted to get it right at the end. So you don't want to go fast and cause chaos. And a player once told me sometimes teams don't go fast in no huddle because they make more mistakes. I think that could be a problem with this team now. I don't know if Chip has the confidence to go, hey, we're going 2-minute drill. We're going no huddle. I see an opportunity because of the mistakes on the offensive line and the penalties.
Yeah, no, it's crucial. And it's one of those things where it really sucks if you're the Raiders because you're in the division with 2 coaches, Jim Harbaugh and Andy Reid, who I believe are some of the best in the league when it comes to controlling the tempo. Really taking your pace and being able to impose that on a team, saying, we're going to take this much time off. We're going to do what we have to do to make sure that the tempo and the time of possession are our side. And that's really what it came down to yesterday was this. You could tell in that second half, they only allowed 3 points. So shout out to the defense for that, only allowing 3 points. But it felt that the Chargers they controlled the tempo the entire second half. And when you're Pete Carroll and you're Chip Kelly, you got to come up with a way to, make the game go by faster. You got to play faster to be able to take that tempo back, especially when you're down and you're trying to fight to get back in the game, get more points. And I feel like there was no necessarily urgency to really try to gain momentum in the terms of there was momentous plays, but there was no momentum in terms of trying to get the tempo back on their side.
Levi Edwards is our guest. So I'm just going to spend a few more moments on the game. It was a big spot to have that flat of a performance for offense. Every game matters. I mean, the 3-0 game in Minnesota, was in the latter part of the year. You see teams early. They played well and explosive at New England, but, man, the stage was set to come out. I didn't expect anything like that game because I thought if the Raiders played that poorly on offense, which tip your cap to the Chargers, they had a lot to do with that.
Right.
I figured at least the Chargers getting the ball back that many times would put up 35 or 40 because they're just getting the ball. The Raiders can't do anything on offense. And the Raiders showed so much heart on defense in the second half, giving the ball back to the offense. I believe that's got to be something everybody takes away.
Yeah, it feels obviously the score was 20-9, but it feels as if they only surrendered, I would say, 17 points, just because of the fact that the first play of the game is an interception,
right,
and you're already in your territory if you're the Chargers. So the fact of that they were able to give up 3 and the 3rd and out on such a play like that, and keep it within 3-0 instead of 7-0 and really get off the rails, like that's a huge thing by the defense. And so I really think the defense played well. And I noticed that they're really doing a lot of different things with Max Crosby, kind of moving him around and got him doing more in the defensive tackle rotation is something that I'm starting to notice. So I think that from a defense perspective, they gave up a couple of really big plays that were crucial. But for the most part, I thought they played really well. And it really was just all on the offense. They were not able to get any of the momentum. They were not able to really stay on the drive and stay on the field and sustain really any big drives outside of the big 19-play drive that landed in 3 points. So I just thought that was very interesting, and it really just comes down to, like I was saying, they have to figure out a way to control the tempo and speed things up.
Lastly, on the Chargers, they play Denver coming up. Denver's known for their secondary, right? Patrick Surtain, what they have on the back end, their safeties and all that. If the Chargers don't get their running game going, they're going nowhere. And they got a couple of options there, but they just don't seem like they're running it well. They are struggling at running the football. The first game, they wanted to go mostly pass in Brazil. In this game, they couldn't get the running game going. I think it's going to be an interesting test because the Broncos fell apart against Indy in a game that they had to go 2-0. The Chargers are 2-0. I think this is going to be a very unique game, Chargers-Denver, to see if the Chargers can play at that level with the passing game going up against the Bronco defenders.
And I'll also say this because a lot of people are saying that the Chargers rushing offense hasn't really been great. But I also want to take a look at the 2 defenses that they had to play in their first 2 games. You have the Chiefs and you have the Raiders. And those are 2 divisional opponents that know you better than anyone will of any team that's going to play you. And I think that they both actually have really good, run defenses. When you have guys like Landon Roberts and Devin White, Max Crosby, who's one of the better, run-stopping edge rushers in the league. I think that's a pretty solid run defense, as we also saw against the Patriots, and the Chiefs have the same weapons where they have Chris Jones. You have a really good run-stopping defense as well.
Sure.
So I think, we got to give the Chargers the benefit of the doubt with that. However, they really have to get it going now because the Broncos secondary is, I believe, one of the best, if not the best secondary in the league from Surtain and even the additions they made in the offseason. So you can't depend on Justin Herbert to just have all the time in the pocket to just throw the rock around and guys just get open. It's just not going to go down like that.
Levi Edwards, as we wrap it up, let's spend the rest of our time on the Commanders. As we are doing this, we don't know the status of Jaden Daniels, and he's day-to-day. That's rare in the league that you hear a team talking about questionable and a player not being available this early in the week. And if he's at full strength, he's as good as any player in the league here. They traded one of their best running backs. Austin Eckler's done for the year on an Achilles. I mean, the Raiders, if there's no Jaden Daniels and they don't have an elite featured running back, I mean, this could be exactly what the Raiders need to get back in the win column.
Yeah, I agree. And we all know that Pete is going to do whatever it takes to make sure this team is ready to go on the East Coast. He has an amazing record in those 1 o'clock games on the East Coast and knows how to make sure his strength and training and conditioning team is going to be able to get those players ready. Something that I look at. You cannot just be so certain in regards to the Marcus Mariota situation, because if you look at Marcus Mariota and you look at Jaden Daniels, obviously Jaden Daniels is an incredible player. Like you said, just as good as anybody in the league right now. But they still have the same play style. So the offense with Cliff is still going to be the same, and Marcus Mariota is going to operate in that offense as effectively as Jaden Daniels would, just because of the fact that they have all of the same strengths and weaknesses as a quarterback, really. It's just Jaden Daniels is much, much younger than Marcus Mariota. So it's one of those things where you still have to game plan for Jaden Daniels as if he's still going to play, because Marcus Mariota is going to be in that offense doing really all of the same things that Jaden Daniels likes to do. So I think that that's very interesting. And I do think that, especially with the Commanders defense, I don't really necessarily consider them the most spectacular group, but they are a bend but don't break group, kind of like the Raiders in a lot of ways. So I think that this would be a really good time for the offense to come back alive. And if they can just make sure that they can contain the quarterback, and I don't think they did a great job of containing Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert still was able to move around and really was most of their rushing offense yesterday. So they really have to figure out a way to contain the quarterback on defense.
Finally, you and I don't see practice secrets. What we get a chance to see is we're in the building, we go to practice, but they got to have a great week of practice here.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just the defense. Let's table the defense and put that aside. Whatever my line is always, and I love it, and I'm going to stay with it, run the plays that you run in Henderson. Whatever Chip is going to script for Geno and whatever they have on the board, they've got to run it here this week really good in a limited amount of practice time.
Yeah.
Okay, limited amount, a day off, then they got to get the install in. They got to look back at the film. Coach told me they're not going to have a lot of time to do it, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they can simplify this offense. Maybe they can sit down in front of the offense and say, you guys didn't handle it well against the Chargers. We are going to make this as simple as possible. We got a long road trip. We're going to run basic Astringenti right, Astringenti left. We're going to run some crossing routes with Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers. We're going to have Trey go up the seam on some deep balls with Dante. Run the stuff that we know could work, and don't get too crazy with this. Ball control and hope the defense can continue to get off the field.
There's a saying that I always like to say, JT, and it's, sometimes, cliches are cliche for a reason. And all that means is that everybody knows you're going to do it, but who cares? Because if they can't stop it, and if it works, then so be it. Let's keep on doing it. And we know what all of these skill sets of these weapons are on offense. We know what Ashton-Jeanty can do. We know what Geno Smith at his best can do. We know Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers, they are, route running kings. And then you have your deep threats who are going to be able to pose the threat. Like, you just need to run what you know will work, not panic. Obviously, like you said, it all starts up front. Up front, they really got to get better. They have to play better, because none of this works. None of this stuff that we know the Raiders can do on offense, it's not going to work if the offensive line doesn't pick it up.
I agree. The offensive line, and we knew this would be not a problem. We knew it was going to be an issue. Once Jackson Powers Johnson moved from center to guard, I said, oh boy, something's up. Okay, I would hope that Jordan Meredith plays better and Jackson Powers Johnson doesn't have to go back to center unless they think he's better, because he earns it and competes it and he does it. But I'm really disappointed with what happened last night. I've been to a lot of games. I've been to every game in that building. And that was on the Mount Rushmore of worst offensive performances I have ever seen in the history of the Las Vegas Raiders. And it got to get cleaned up pretty quickly here if the Raiders are going to win. What content can we look for? What are you writing about this week? What are you looking ahead to?
Well, obviously, we have our pick 6, which is going to release later this week with our top 6 matchups. We have our versus, and versus is going to be really interesting this week just because of how injuries are, could affect or not affect the game. So obviously 3 key matchups. So we're going to have a lot of good content like that. And obviously we're going to continue to highlight the players that are playing at the best of their ability. Also, a story that I wrote last week that is evergreen I want you guys to check out is Caillou Blue Kelly and Thomas Booker. They were teammates at Stanford, and now they're teammates here. They're starters, and they're playing really good football right now. And I think that is a really interesting dynamic that they have, and they really, work their ass off to earn starting roles. So shout out to them.
Levi Edwards, everybody. Thank him for coming on. When we come back, and I want to thank La Casa Cigar Lounge, Tivoli Village. Mike was out there last night. He has a set-up tailgate, giving out cigars, and a great place to go watch football. La Casa Tivoli Village. It's open. Entertainment 7 nights a week. Go to Raiders.com and do Levi a favor. Read his content, bookmark it, and share it with other people as we continue on the flagship. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Levi. We got 712 in here. That's a nice number, man. That's a good number, man. Appreciate everybody there. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for everybody being here. Yeah.